Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Taylor, and today I want to talk about a show that's near and dear to my heart, and hopefully explain why my favorite anime might be something you don't expect. In this episode of Jump Report, I'll be covering Fooly Cooly. Firstly, I want to set the scene a bit. Fooly Cooly is set in Mabase, Japan, where nothing amazing ever happens. We follow the life of Naota Nandaba, an ordinary 6th grader, and his coming-of-age story. Naota has always lived in the shadow of his older brother, a promising youth baseball player, who after graduating high school, moved to America to play in the minor leagues. With the absence of his brother, Naota is left living at home with his complete nutjob of a father and his grandpa. Naota is often accompanied by his brother's ex-girlfriend, Mamimi. Naota laments the ordinary life he's been living. That is, until the arrival of Haruko Haruhara. Say that 5 times fast. A pink-haired psychopath riding a yellow Vespa and wielding an electric guitar like a battle axe. In their first encounter, Haruko smacks Naota with her guitar, producing a horn that starts growing out of Naota's head. Once the horn is fully grown, a robot named Kanti pops out of it, and things only get weirder from there. Fooly Cooly is a show about sex, guitars, fighting robots, and space aliens. All of the things that make anime, but it's also about none of those at the same time. Fooly Cooly is a glimpse into the mind of a young teen who has to learn what it means to be mature. The show is, at its core, a coming-of-age story, as Naota is entering puberty and transitioning from being a child to a teenager. Fooly Cooly embodies the rebellious nature of middle schoolers by rebelling against pretty much every expectation the audience might have of it. The theme of maturity is seen in the show, but the concept is completely backwards, as all of the adults are portrayed as more childish and immature than the kids themselves. One example of this is Naota's dad, who is the world's most sane Evangelion fan. It's been established that the only idol Naota has ever looked up to is his older brother, and without his brother around, Naota lacks a mature person to model himself after. When Haruko is introduced, Naota latches onto her as a sort of replacement for his older brother. But as the show progresses, we realize Haruko is just like the other adults of the series, an awful person. She uses and abuses a child to further her own goals, as well as constantly flirting with both Naota and his father. Naota does mature from interacting with her, but this maturity comes from recognizing adults aren't people that should be put on pedestals. They have their own flaws and shortcomings, just like kids do. More so than a coming-of-age story, Fooly Cooly is all about breaking the rules, whether that be the rules of the world in the show, or something more meta, the rules of animation and storytelling. Starting in the first episode, the characters themselves sometimes break the fourth wall, asking what the hell Fooly Cooly even means. And to this day, nobody actually knows the answer. The ambiguity of the show's title is representative of the show as a whole, as with how bizarre the narrative is, any intended meaning seems lost or buried deep behind the chaos. Although this is the case, the chaos is not without purpose. I believe the chaotic direction of the show is supposed to reflect Naota's inner state as he struggles with the departure of his brother and the shoes he has to fill, as well as the anxiety and awkwardness that defines the early teenage years. It's hard to describe the animation style of Fooly Cooly as it bounces all over the place from episode to episode. The show is made by Gainax, who most notably are the studio that created Evangelion, which explains the multiple EVA references seen throughout the show. Gainax is notorious for having what is colloquially referred to as Gainax endings, which just means the story either does a complete 180 from its original direction, or it doesn't wrap up most of the plot at all. Fooly Cooly manages to skip the notorious Gainax ending, but that doesn't mean the plot is somehow easy to understand. Fooly Cooly moves at a breakneck pace, so my advice to you is to sit back and enjoy the ride. I'd recommend leaving your thinking cap at home for this one, at least until your second watch. Fooly Cooly is my favorite anime for a number of reasons. The first and foremost reason is that the show is awesome. With an amazing soundtrack done by the Japanese rock band The Pillows, almost every moment in the show is backed with a track that feels tailor-made for that scene. Combine the epic soundtrack with the absolute fever dream that is the plot, and you get some of the coolest scenes in anime. Some that immediately come to mind are when the anime switches to manga format in the first and sixth episode, the 360-degree view of Naota's kiss, Robot Conti ascending as an angel, and my favorite scene of him baseball swinging a meteor out of the atmosphere. I love the mystery of the show and trying to deduce meaning and symbolism from anything and everything related to Fooly Cooly. Every time I watch the show, I come up with new ideas or explanations for things. Oftentimes, I end up with a new perspective on a character or an episode. My current theory on Fooly Cooly is that the events of the show are just an extremely dramatized version of the truth, as told from the perspective of our 11-year-old main character. The show is riddled with moments of obvious realism that makes me think the fantastical elements we see are just Naota's daydreams. Haruko even suggests to Naota that she's a figment of his imagination, which is something that I'm inclined to believe.
But hey, that's just a theory.
What's great about this theory is that it doesn't matter in the slightest if it's correct or not. The show is equally as awesome either way. I've watched this show like 10 times over the past few years since my first viewing, and I still love to come back to it every once in a while. It's the perfect combination of weird, funny, deep, sad, all wrapped up into 6 episodes of anime. Fooly Cooly accomplishes more in 6 episodes than many shows do in hundreds. While Fooly Cooly might be hard to understand on your first watch, that doesn't mean you won't fall in love with the show. Even the creators of the show have stated that you don't need to understand everything, you just need to enjoy it. I've forced many of my friends who are into anime to sit down and watch this with me, and not a single one hasn't enjoyed it. To me, Fooly Cooly is as close to perfection as an anime can get, and I wouldn't change a single thing about it. It makes me feel this intense nostalgia from when I was younger, and while it has some real moments that are sorta depressing, they're completely outweighed by the sense of hope and joy you get from watching it. If I had to describe my experience watching Fooly Cooly, it's kinda like climbing the peak of a mountain and stopping to enjoy the beauty of the landscape below. Yeah, there were some rough spots along the way, but the view from the top made it all worth it. If you took an elevator straight up instead, you wouldn't appreciate it in the same way. I hope if you haven't seen Fooly Cooly yet, this video will change that. Everyone has their own system for how they determine their favorite anime, but for me, there's only one show that holds that spot. Thank you guys for making it this far. This video is something I've wanted to make for a long time now, and I really do hope you guys end up checking out Fooly Cooly if you haven't already. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and comment below your thoughts on Fooly Cooly. And while you're at it, let me know what your favorite anime is and why. Subscribe for more Jump Report videos, and make sure to check out our TikTok page for exclusive shorts and previews of upcoming projects. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace.